You guys might recall this horror story. It was from, about a couple of weeks ago, right? 14-year-old daughter thinking that she, after being coerced by Walter Wallace, he's apparently a doctor for something, in the lower mainland of British Columbia. Oh yeah, definitely, 100% a male, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And being a sensible father, he objected to that and had the audacity to refer to his own daughter with female pronouns. And that landed him in jail. And we've got a less than moralizing end to this story, unfortunately. He ended up getting another 6 months in jail. So, it was only a two-day trial. This dude here, Christoph Elson, I believe is his name. He was in the courtroom. He was live tweeting this, and it's not getting barely any traction. I couldn't find it on any of the mainstream Canadian outlets, and it's tragic, mostly because of what happened and all these documents that are just readily available at BC Children's Hospital are disturbing, to say the least. And because this entire story runs contrary to the long-term effects of gender transition and what these kids are allowed to sign up for when they are 13 fucking years old, is disturbing, to say the least, and runs counter to every narrative that you would find from Health Canada and from our big three mainstream networks. Here's a recap from the first day, and this took place on Thursday, and we got our verdict on Friday, and I just happened to come across this, and you won't find any hope here. This is just another instance that Canada is completely going down the shitter. So the father referred to as CD in this Twitter thread here, and then in the other one as well, is Robert Hoogland, okay? He has pleaded guilty for violating a gag order by speaking out, naming the doctors involved, and publishing documents like this consent form that his daughter had signed when she was just 13 years old. And what is she allowed to sign? Well, won't read all of it, but the opening paragraph is, I am receiving treatment for gender dysphoria. The cause of gender dysphoria is not known, but is thought to be partly due to genetic or environmental causes affecting the early development of my brain pathways, or the influence of a politically motivated doctor who looks up to the likes of Hannibal Lecter and has aspirations of purchasing an island like Moreau. I understand that the effects on me means that even though I think of myself partially or completely as male, I am genetically, biologically, and physically female. I want to receive treatment that will help me change my body towards that of being a male, so that I will match my sense of myself. Remember, this is a 13-year-old person who is agreeing to this insanity. With the understanding and consent of my parents/guardians, I may be taking a medicine called Lupron Depot? Sure. To stop me from going through puberty as a female, regardless, my treatment also involves taking therapy, psychotherapy, really, to help me think about all possible results and consequences of going part or all the way through this physical change called transition from a female towards a male body. I understand that I may now begin taking the male hormone testosterone. I understand that, although testosterone is common treatment for adults with gender dysphoria, using this treatment in young adolescents is a newer development and the long-term effects are not fully known. But what we do know is not promising. There are possible long-term considerations and risk of testosterone use in natal females, which is now apparently what you're supposed to refer to regular people as natal females and natal males. Fuck off. Just fuck off. I have no more time with trying to parse through these insane motherfuckers out here trying to push this radical, retarded ideology on people. There's no benefit in trying to dispel this stuff anymore. There are males, there are females, and there are a few fucked people in between that just want to become whatever they aren't, okay? That's the entire purpose of being a trans person, okay? There are just these fucked Twitter people that used to inhabit the likes of Tumblr and Reddit, and once those forums died because they poisoned it with their insane ideology, they got a little bit bigger of a microphone, and then all of a sudden their fucking elf self or their tree self. This is the logical end of what happens when everybody is special, everybody is unique, everybody deserves a voice. No, you deserve to be ridiculed for your stupid decisions. But I'm getting a little too worked up and I want to stay on topic on this one. The long-term considerations and risk of testosterone for the use in females as follows. The masculization effects of testosterone can take several months or longer to become noticeable. Changes may not be complete for 2 to 5 years after starting testosterone. The following changes will likely be permanent: lower voice, increased growth of hair, so everything that you'd go through in order to become a male post-puberty, including male pattern baldness, apparently, hair loss at the temples and crown of the head, and genital changes, which you can read yourself, including getting, bodybuilder growth on your clit and having it dry up like Maxine Waters at the beautiful age of, 15. Ugh. Following changes are usually not permanent, usually. So acne, fat may redistribute to the more masculine patterns, so you might get a beer belly. Increased muscle mass, increased libido, with a dick you can't use. Menstrual periods usually stop within a month or 6. Ugh, God forbid there'd be any fucking mutant disasters popping out of that confused zone. It is not known what the effects of testosterone are on fertility. I bet you it's not good. Even if you stop taking testosterone, you may or may not be able to get pregnant in the future. So if you, like many other people who have gone through this ridiculous situation, and you have a reasonable amount of regret, which a lot of people do, if you aren't trying to kill yourself, that is, because suicide and thoughts of suicide rates go dramatically up. They might cover this in here as well. But yeah, you ruin the quintessential part of being a woman. Even after testosterone stops your menstrual periods, it may still be possible for you to get pregnant, and you must be aware of birth control options. You must not take testosterone if you are pregnant. Thank God, at least somebody's looking out for the unborn kids. You still need to protect yourself from sexually transmitted infections. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, because it would definitely be tragic if any of these disasters get AIDS. There are some aspects of your body that will not be changed by testosterone. Don't care. Taking testosterone will cause changes that increase the risk of heart disease. Remember, all the side effects are currently not known, but these are the ones that are, and they aren't good. Decreasing good cholesterol, HDL, and increasing bad LDL. Science is currently out on all that stuff anyways, about it being good and bad. Increasing blood pressure and deposits of fat around the internal organs, so more visceral fat, meaning that there's less room for them to expand and contract, and that is definitely not good. It also heats them up as well, and there's less room. It's just the worst side of everything that you get when you start fucking around with nature. Imagine that. Risk of heart disease are greater in people in the family that have had heart disease, obviously. Heart health checkups, including monitoring of weight and cholesterol levels, should be done periodically. Those should be done regardless anyways. Taking testosterone can increase red blood cells and hemoglobin, and while the increase is usually not in the normal male range, a high increase can cause potentially life-threatening problems such as stroke and heart attack. So the old ticker gets weaker, and you could have an old faucet break in your dome. How terrific. Taking testosterone can increase the risk of diabetes. Oh, great. Testosterone can be converted to estrogen in various tissues in the body. Yes, when you have an excess of it, aromatization occurs, and then you have to take more estrogen blockers, which is wonderful, of course. That's why if you find any bodybuilder with tits, they're not doing their cycles right. Taking testosterone can lead to the cervix and the walls of the vagina becoming more fragile. This can lead to tears or abrasions. Obviously, taking testosterone can cause headaches or migraines. Taking testosterone can cause emotional changes. Might be for the better in some of these people. Testosterone will result in changes that will be noticeable by other people. Some trans people in similar circumstances have experienced harassment, discrimination, and violence, while others have lost support of loved ones. Your team can assist you in finding advocacy and support resources. This is why you should wait until you're a legal human being in order to go through with something this retarded. Listen, if you can't wait another 5 years to make a decision that is clearly going to lead to a much worse life for you, because as you can tell, none of this stuff is really terribly great for you and might not even work. Extra testosterone can be converted to estrogen, which may slow this or stop masculinization. So you'd end up looking like some of the people who advocate for this stuff. Since non-trans men taking testosterone their whole lives, testosterone therapy for gender dysphoria is generally continued lifelong. So you're going to have to be on TRT for the rest of your life. Otherwise, your natural biological occurrences would start up again. And your transition would be null and void. Medical risk, or the medical effects and safety of testosterone are not fully understood. Yeah, that's already what we know. So my signature below confirms that my doctor has talked with me about the benefits and risk of testosterone. What are those benefits, by the way? That must be a very brief conversation. The possible or likely consequences of hormone therapy and potential alternative treatment options like not or waiting. I understand the risks. Probably don't. I understand that this form covers known effects and risks that may be there for lifelong effects or risks that are not yet known. I have sufficient opportunity to discuss treatment options with my doctor. Highly doubt it. I believe I have adequate knowledge. No, you wouldn't. You couldn't possibly have adequate knowledge in order to make this. Most of the science is out, and like I said, none of it looks good for what you're trying to do. But that's what you get. Probably not just at BC Children's Hospital, but Alberta's Children's Hospital, Manitoba's. Pick your province. It's probably all there because all of this weird shit is getting pushed everywhere. So like Chris points out here, look at some of those statements and tell me, how can a 13-year-old girl with rapid onset gender dysphoria be able to give informed consent to lifelong testosterone treatment? No. She's thought really hard about this, okay? And okay, even back when you were 13, just try to imagine what you were really passionate about at that point, and if you followed through on that. I'll wait. Just think about something. I think at 13, I probably wanted to be an optometrist. It was probably that time in my life. And then I looked around and realized just because I wear glasses doesn't mean I'd be happy in that position. Just because I played video games all the time, I probably couldn't make one that would be that great. And as somebody who has actually researched this stuff, Abigail Shearer has pointed out many young women get prophylactic hysterectomies about 5 years on after starting their testosterone therapy because of the risk of cancer is so high, something that wasn't pointed out there. Just heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. So you can add cancer onto that one. Prolonged testosterone use also causes abdominal pain and vaginal and uterine atrophy, requiring hysterectomies. So you're going to have to get your woman parts ice cream scooped out just because, I don't know, all of a sudden you started to feel like a man and some quack there was pushing it on you. Boy. And remember, guys, this was all predicated on a 1 hour meeting. Yeah, 1 hour meeting. Like it says here, can a 13-year-old girl consent to her own sterilization? The doctor at BC Children's Hospital thought so after meeting with the child for just 1 hour. Who knows the child better, the ideologue doctor or the father? And that is the saddest fucking part about this. A few months ago, after signing this consent form, which the daughter and the mother had signed, yes, it was a obviously broken home, which led to Robert Hoogland being kicked out of his house because that's how divorces work. And that's something else that just troubles me on such a high level that I don't know if this was an act of spite or however you want to put it by the mother, but this is the situation that we're in. And then we got the letter that Robert Hoogland received. We are writing regarding your child's decision to proceed with testosterone therapy. To respect gender identity, his chosen name and male pronouns will be used throughout this letter. Go fuck yourself. As you may be aware, in British Columbia, a minor like blank may give an effective consent to health care if his provider, first, is satisfied that he understands the nature, consequences, benefits, and all the risks associated with the treatment, and second, concludes that the treatment is in her best interests. This right is provided in Section 17 of the Infants Act, and you see in your separation agreement your ability to refuse or withdraw consent on behalf of the subject in the operation of the provision. We have attached a relevant part to the Infants Act to your letter for your reference. Oh my God. Why would anybody get married? Why would anybody get married and start a family? Because this is what can happen to you in Canada. Oh my God. Listen, your parents, or maybe if you're of the correct age, you've already had your family, you already have grown kids. You don't have to deal with this kind of stuff. But this is the barrel that somebody my age and people younger than me are having to stare down. That's why I couldn't possibly, based on the broads that I've ever met, settle down, because I know that this is lurking around the corner. This is horrific, even more horrific than when I started reading into this. Oh yes, and Chris pulls this part out. So parents in BC are just reduced to friends and advisors for their child. Yeah, if you lose a separation agreement. If you're in a divorce and you're a man, basically, that's all that boils down to. Yeah, you're a friend or advisor. There's no minimum age for how young these children can be. Yeah, so 13 might be on the old age of the spectrum, but who really knows? Is up for the shady doctor, Wallace Wong. Had to go back and double check. Wallace Wong was the one, and he's helped thousands of others as well make this decision. So that's the lengthy backstory. That is everything that we knew coming up to the couple of days that we're in court. And then we just got the bullet points here as well. To be settled today are at least two issues: the sentencing of Robert Hoogland, the CD in here, and what to do with the $57,000 raised by his Go Get Funding page, because he wasn't allowed to have a GoFundMe page because he doesn't have the right politics. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's always how GoFundMe works. Anyways, the judge called for the money. The judge called the money ill-gotten gains, so he was already fighting an uphill battle. The Crown has asked for a sentence of 45 days, but on Wednesday, the judge called that woefully inadequate. Why? Because he didn't agree with this barbaric treatment of his daughter. Because Canada is a failed state with biased judges. That was before Hoogland testified and before Jen Smith blamed the breach of the court order on grifters, nut jobs, and right-wing propaganda contaminating Hoogland's brain. That is the single most projection-laden statement I think I've ever read. Court session begins. Hoogland's lawyer tells Judge Tamman that rejecting Crown's recommendation of a 45-day sentence and increasing it will only add to Hoogland's martyr status. Kind of, sort of, but if nobody reports on it and somebody goes to jail, does he really become a martyr? Hoogland's lawyer, Carrie Lind, wants to know how the Toronto Star acquired a copy of the daughter's victim impact statement. Very interesting. I refrain from using the Toronto Star because it's one of the biggest propaganda networks. The Toronto Star is a part of a bunch of different outlets across the larger countries in larger cities in Canada. It's equivalent to USA Today. They're good for a laugh, but any substance they're devoid of in their reporting. Anyways, judge doesn't view anything in it as a violation of the publication ban. It only comes from one side. He was posting legal documents, but when they post legal documents, there's nothing about it that's wrong. Okay, I understand. Having said that, procedure is such that it is unusual. A judge asks Crown how the Toronto Star came to receive the statement. Crown simply says it was receiving in proper fashion and that his issue is not germane to this hearing. Nope, just we got it. That's fine. Don't ask any more questions about it. Unfucking believable. It is a Crown position that the victim impact statement, being the public sphere, is fine with the child. Judge is going to leave it at that. Crown's counsel brings up another issue, the dude reporting. He says a man named Chris Elston, who goes by Billboard Chris, right there, was live tweeting a couple days ago. Judge clarified that it's not permitted by anyone other than the accredited media. That's why we don't get anything of substance coming out of our court proceedings, because everything gets filtered through either CTV, CBC, Global, the Star Media Group, National Post. You don't get any independent sources. Crown has recommended 45 days in jail and to be followed by 18 months probation for misgendering his daughter. In addition to requirements for Hoogland to write to websites in an effort to get them taken down material in breach of the court order. So he's not even allowed to tell his side of the story. Oh, how's this supposed to be fair? It's not. Okay. Judge says CD, we'll just flip back and forth between the two, expressed remorse for the second time he testified, which was entirely different from his first testimony. Both times CD spoke. He accepted full responsibility for his actions. Judge Tamman says 45 days in prison is inadequate and would bring the administration of justice to disrepute. No, this entire court proceeding is bringing the administration of justice into disrepute, but his dude is fighting an uphill battle and nobody wants to talk about it. Judge Tamman goes through the history of the case and various breaches. He mentions the previous Judge Bowden, who said that if CD referred to his daughter as a girl, it would constitute family violence. AIDS. Everybody deserves nothing less. Judge talks in the interviews given to several different outlets. Judge states that Hoogland stated in an interview that he felt it was important to break the gag order. Oh, it very much is, and I'm certainly glad he had the cojones and wherewithal to do as much. Tamman mentioned the VPD, Vancouver Police Department, accessed CD's Go Get Funding page in March of 2021 and found that to be in violation of the court order. Based on that, the judge issued an arrest warrant. In the subsequent 12 days before the court hearing and arrest date, CD did his most egregious violation by giving misinfo to massresistance.org. Those documents remain inaccessible, including a letter from the doctor at BC Children's Hospital to Hoogland and the consent form that his daughter signed. I'll be linking to these two threads anyways if you want to go to massresistance.org, find the 9 full names of these healthcare providers, and kindly remind them of their scumbaggery. And then we got day 2 of the trial for the father unable to stop his daughter medically transitioning. Hoogland is currently sitting in jail because he's refused to follow a gag order prohibiting him from speaking publicly. So he's at the courthouse live tweeting again. So this is what you should basically know from day 2 of this, absolute disgrace of a trial. A heated exchange between Hoogland's lawyer and the judge. Judge finally says carry on, and Lind gets back to the consent form. They're going over the consent form and how it's ludicrous in and of itself. Right there on the form it says the cause of gender dysphoria is unknown. Lind says the cause of gender dysphoria is unknown. How is the diagnosis and proper treatment determined? And the Politburo side of the BC state side is constantly referring to this, the Tavistock decision from December of 2020. The Tavistock is a gender clinic in the UK. So Canada's using laws from the UK in order to inform their own decisions. That is cherry picking of the highest regard. And last December, the High Court ruled that children cannot give informed consent to puberty blockers. And this is why it didn't work. Lind brings up the High Court's decision again about how these treatments are experimental. The father objected to his daughter signing a form that says she agrees and she may become sterile, and he felt he had to act. The judge says this has nothing to do with the publication ban. No, it's that nobody knows about this stuff, and without these documents of being published, nobody would have known about this. This just would have went continuously under the radar. Like when we originally talked about Wallace Wong, he had been doing this stuff for a very long time, for the upwards of a decade. Nobody else was talking about this. We knew of the different side effects of transitioning, of how pumping in different hormones can cause radically different mental problems, radically different physiological problems. But not that these kids were allowed to sign this under some quack's supervision. Then, at the end of the day, the judge just stated he is very much considering imposing an additional term of imprisonment beyond time served. He thinks 45 days in prison is woefully inadequate, and then father sentenced to 6 months for violating gag order about child's medical gender transition. Yep, that's how it ends. Like I said, there's no white pills to be found here. There's no hope to be found left in Canada. This is just the start. Oh, he wasn't sentenced. Excuse me, he wasn't sentenced for misgendering his daughter. He was sentenced for violating a gag order. You should know the difference. This is how all of this shit starts, okay? Sentence would not have happened without all of this garbage predicating it. We've got the Human Rights Tribunal in every different province where if you misgender, if you offend somebody, if you say the wrong words, you can be brought in front of there, you can be fined, you can be imprisoned, you can have your rights removed for it, and to the vast majority of the country, that's a great thing. And I just want to get out of here as fast as humanly possible. And this is the post-millennials about the only place that I've seen broadcast this, and it's very important. And I know that this video was quite long, but following up on this story is necessary. Because what starts in British Columbia, what starts in just a small, tiny little pocket of rabid ideologues quickly blossoms once those people start to gain power. They start to gain influence under the guise of fair treatment. They just want to be treated like humans. I need my identity validated. It only gets worse from here. So you got to know this stuff, and you got to push back wherever you're finding it. Make sure you know what your kids are doing. Make sure you know what they're learning, and don't allow this mind virus to infest them, to infest yourself. And we'll talk about something fun with the next video because god damn it, was this depressing. Thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.